Now, back to the Tom Donahue Show. Liberty loving and freedom fighting.
Tom Donahue Rant for Tom Donahue Reports, Tom Donahue Show. This is just unbelievable. Well, I shouldn't say unbelievable because for San Francisco it should be believable. But San Francisco to paint over historic George Washington mural. So I have two articles, one from the AP, the other from Fox News. And the one from Fox News is written by Todd Starnes, who's a talk show host and a Fox News contributor. And the title of his article is San Francisco Votes to Whitewash George Washington Literally. And, well, it's true. I mean, that's really what they're doing. They're whitewashing history, and anything that's not PC, politically correct, that's not racially sensitive, or of color, or cultural diversity. The San Francisco School Board voted to destroy a historic fresco of George Washington that includes images of slaves and a dead Native American. School leaders said the 1,600 square foot mural must be removed from George Washington High School to make reparations for historic wrongs, the San Francisco Chronicle reports. The mural, titled The Life of Washington, was commissioned by the Works Progress Administration, created by a Russian-born artist. The two most controversial panels show Washington among his slaves at Mount Vernon, and another in which he directs white men with guns westward over the body of a dead Native American as described. So this is reparations, the board member Mark Sanchez told a radio station. Their plan is to literally paint over and whitewash American history. The Chronicle reports critics want the mural to be painted over with white paint, arguing students should not be subjected to the offensive images. The mural is not teaching students about history of slavery and indigenous genocide under George Washington and other white settlers. So instead, it's teaching students to normalize violence and the death of our black and indigenous community. A number of historians and art critics urge the district to reconsider the destruction. While I respect the concerns of the protesters and understand the problematic issues at play, I do not believe that San Francisco will be well served by the destruction of the mural series. Thomas Campbell, the director of Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco, told the Chronicle. Gordon Knox, the president of San Francisco Art Institute, also opposed the destruction of the fresco. The destruction of art never advances dialogue and should never be misconstrued as a method of revoking facts of human history, he said. But their voices are drowned out by a politically correct mob of cultural jihadists. That's so true. And towards the close of this particular article written by Todd Starnes for Fox News, he quotes from the philosopher Edmund Burke, who once said, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." And he closes by saying, "It's time for good men and women of America to do something." Well, bravo. I agree. Absolutely. Now back to the AP version, this particular article. They don't use the word whitewash, I don't believe, but well, let me just dig in here a little bit closer. It says here, San Francisco will spend up to $600,000 to paint over the historic artwork at the public school depicting the life of George Washington, which so they're going to spend over $600,000 to paint over this mural. And this is, this is George Washington High School. So maybe they'll change the name too, okay? The title of this particular mural was The Life of Washington. And it was a depiction of a variety of things relating to his time and to the first president and really the father of our great country. It says here that the San Francisco School Board's decision to paint over the 83-year-old mural is prompting some to worry that other artwork from the so-called New Deal era could face similar fate because of changing sensitivities or sensibilities. You know, what really bothers me here is that you would think that because it's depicting certain things that relate it to those times, that certainly would be considered troubling and disturbing. But isn't that what art's supposed to be? And also, if it's depicting in reality what happened, so they want to whitewash history, and they really, so you can't even talk about history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this is just really an egregious assault. Normality on common sense and history and just the world that we need to understand. Decision last week comes at a time when the legacies of Washington and other historic figures who owned slaves are being re-examined. Some cities have changed the names of their streets and buildings named after slave owners. Richard Walker is a professor of geography at the University of California, Berkeley, and director of the History Project, Living New Deal, said the Washington mural is meant to show the uncomfortable facts about America's first president. For that, it was among many of the New Deal's works of art considered radical when created. We on the left ought to welcome the honest portrayal, Walker said, adding that destroying a piece of art is the worst way you can deal with historic malfeasance and historic evils. Mark Sanchez, vice president of the school board, and a third-grade teacher said students who must walk past the mural during the school day don't have a choice about seeing the harmful images. Painting it over represents not only a symbolic fresh start, but a real fresh start, he said. However, Lope Yap Jr., vice president of the Washington High School Alumni Association and a 1970 graduate, disagreed, saying when he was a student and saw the mural, he was awed by the subtle ways that the artist was able to critique American history. He said the depictions are treasures, priceless art, and the painting over it is tantamount to pretending the history depicted never happened. I'm not into censorship, Yap said. I would want to deal with history so we can prevent this from happening again. The mural is a fresco, which means it's painted on the wall and can't easily be removed, which I didn't know. Painting it over won't happen immediately. Should a lawsuit or other delay arise, it will be covered up until the issues are resolved. The board plans to digitally archive the mural. Most of the $600,000 earmarked for the project will go towards a required environmental review and to cover expected legal challenges. Most of the students, they say here, are children of color, many from low-income families. As early as the 1960s, some students argue the mural's imagery is offensive and racist. Renewed opposition emerged in recent years amid protest in the South and elsewhere over statues honoring Confederate heroes. The artist was a Russian-born communist and social critic. He was hired with Federal Art Projects Fund as part of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal, a series of government programs meant to help lift the country out of the Great Depression of the 1930s. He was one of the group of artists to paint murals at San Francisco's Coit Tower that prompted anti-communists to delay the tower's opening. Wow, okay. Walker and the other supporters of the mural worry that painting over it may signal that it's acceptable to destroy the thousands of other New Deal murals across the country. Activists have been successful in getting a series of New Deal murals at the University of New Mexico covered up. Other New Deal murals in New York and Iowa have been vandalized as well as painted over and subsequently restored. The mural is an immense public treasure during one of the few periods of American history where you had the federal government supporting public art, public spaces, and public good, Walker says. I understand the importance of art, and it should be the last thing we do to attempt to cover any kind of art up, he said. the starting point has to be from those who feel that they are harmed, and how that is unacceptable, especially given the history of this country, when we don't listen and we don't learn. I mean, the sense of irony here, as well as hypocrisy, but the irony here is that FDR, the quintessential president that brought us into the age of socialism, expanded the social, actually more or less created to a great degree the social welfare programs, funded and had these artists commissioned, on the public dole through public works projects to do these pieces of art. And now you have leftists that honor FDR, and I guess now it's a dishonor, that are attacking the artwork that was funded, that I guess you could say to some degree was created by FDR and the New Deal. So the irony, the hypocrisy, and just the outrageousness of the outrage is beyond the pale.